three ordinary ingredients in your kitchen contain chemical mechanisms so precise that scientists are still running clinical trials on them. One of them literally commands your cells to build their own defense system. That's not hype. That's what the research actually shows.
Broccoli, salmon, garlic. Three everyday foods most of us already have at home, but each one contains a specific compound that does something surprisingly precise inside the body.
One of them flips a kind of master control switch inside your cells. What happens next is one of the most interesting things I've come across in nutrition science. I'm going to save that one for a few minutes because it makes more sense once you see the bigger picture. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what each of these three foods is doing inside you, and why the way most people cook them quietly turns off the very benefits they're looking for. Let's break them down one by one.
Broccoli, the food that tells your cells to protect themselves. You've probably heard broccoli is good for you because it's full of antioxidants. That explanation is only half the story, and the less interesting half. Most antioxidants work like a one-time shield. One molecule meets one harmful particle. They cancel each other out, and that antioxidant is used up. It's a fair trade, but it's temporary. The special compound in broccoli works differently. When you chew or lightly cook broccoli, you break open its cells. Inside those cells are two separate ingredients that normally don't touch each other. The moment they mix, they create a powerful compound. That compound then enters your cells and flips a master control switch. Once that switch is turned on, your cells start making their own protective tools. Lots of them. They produce natural cleanup enzymes, anti-inflammatory proteins, and defense systems that keep working for days, not minutes. In other words, the broccoli doesn't protect you directly. It gives your cells the signal to protect themselves. Researchers have studied this effect across dozens of human trials, looking at everything from blood pressure to inflammation to metabolic health. One review of multiple studies found that people eating broccoli sprouts saw a meaningful drop in blood pressure, the kind of change that doctors actually pay attention to. There's one important catch, though. That special compound only forms if you damage the broccoli while the key enzyme is still active. Boiling it for a long time destroys that enzyme. The signal never gets sent. You're left with fiber and not much else. The better way, steam it lightly or stir-fry it quickly. Even better, use broccoli sprouts. They contain far more of the starting material than mature broccoli, so the signal is stronger. Most people think they're getting the full benefit just by eating broccoli. If they're boiling it until it's soft and gray, they're mostly missing the point. The master switch never turns on. That's the first story. The second one is completely different. Salmon, the building material. Your brain actually needs people. Say fish is brain food. Almost nobody explains what that really means. Your brain is mostly fat, not the kind of fat you burn for energy, the kind that forms the actual structure of your brain cells. A large part of that structural fat is a specific type of omega-3 that sits in the outer layer of every brain cell.
Think of it like the insulation around electrical wires. When the insulation is fresh and flexible, signals travel cleanly. When it gets old and brittle, the signals get weaker and messier. Your brain constantly rebuilds those membranes throughout your life.
It needs a steady supply of the right building material. Salmon provides exactly that material. The other main omega-3 in salmon does a different job. It helps calm low-level inflammation in the brain. That quiet, ongoing inflammation is now linked to slower thinking, lower mood, and higher risk of cognitive decline over time. Multiple large reviews of human studies have found consistent patterns. People who regularly eat fatty fish tend to score better on attention and processing speed tests. Other analyses have shown benefits for mood. Long-term studies following thousands of people for years have found lower rates of dementia among those who ate fish weekly. One pattern keeps showing up. Eating the whole fish tends to work better than taking isolated capsules. The full package seems to matter. Most people treat fish like just another protein, the same as chicken or turkey. That's why they assume a cheap supplement will do the exact same job. The research suggests the real advantage comes from the whole food, the actual building material your brain is made of, not just a single extracted component. Garlic, the ancient remedy that finally got tested. Garlic has been used as a medicinal agent for approximately 5,000 years. From a scientific point of view, that long history is actually a reason to be careful. Tradition alone doesn't prove anything. So when researchers started putting garlic through proper clinical trials, many expected modest results at best. What they found was more consistent than expected. The largest review to date looked at more than 100 randomized trials involving over 7,000 people. Across those studies, regular garlic consumption was linked to better numbers for cholesterol, blood pressure, blood sugar, and markers of inflammation. Different research teams, different countries, different forms of garlic, the overall direction kept pointing the same way. Here's how it works in simple terms. A whole unbroken clove of garlic is basically inactive. When you crush or chop it, a natural reaction starts and creates the active compound. That compound helps blood vessels relax, makes it harder for the body to produce excess cholesterol, and slows down the process that turns cholesterol into the sticky form that builds up in arteries. Even small, steady improvements in blood pressure matter. Research in heart health has shown that a lasting drop of just a couple of points across a whole population can translate into noticeably fewer strokes. There's one practical detail that makes a big difference. The active compound is sensitive to heat. If you throw the garlic into a hot pan, the second you chop it, the reaction doesn't have time to finish. A lot of the potential benefit is lost. The simple fix: chop or crush the garlic, then wait about 10 minutes before cooking. That short pause lets the reaction complete. After that, you can cook it normally. Most people skip this step without realizing it. They cook garlic every day and still miss most of what makes it interesting from a health perspective. 10 minutes of waiting turns a flavoring into something with measurable effects. Putting it all together. 3 ordinary foods. 3 different ways of working inside the body. Broccoli sends a signal that turns on your cell's own defense systems. The effect lasts for days, but only if you don't destroy the key enzyme by overcooking. Salmon supplies the actual building material your brain uses to maintain its structure, while also helping keep low-level inflammation in check. Whole fish tends to outperform isolated supplements. Garlic creates a compound that helps blood vessels relax and supports healthier cholesterol and blood pressure numbers, but only if you give it a few minutes after chopping before applying heat. None of this means these foods are magic or that they replace medical treatment. What the research does show is that 3 common ingredients work through clear, measurable mechanisms in the human body. Most people just never hear the mechanisms explained in plain language. The idea that stays with me is the one from broccoli. The idea that a food doesn't have to protect you directly. It can simply tell your own cells to start protecting themselves. Once you see nutrition that way, it's hard to go back to the old model of eat this because it's healthy. Which of these 3 landed hardest for you? The one where broccoli flips a switch inside your cells? The idea that salmon is literally helping build the structure of your brain? Or the fact that garlic finally held up under more than 100 clinical trials? Drop a comment and tell me. I read them. Next week, I'm going somewhere I've been building toward for a while. The science is just as solid, and the finding is even more surprising than the cell defense switch we talked about today. Same careful approach. I'll see you then. If this video made you look at broccoli, salmon, or garlic differently, even a little, then you're exactly the kind of person I make these for.
Most nutrition content online either oversimplifies everything into eat this, avoid that, or drowns you in jargon no one can use. I try to do neither.
Every week I dig into real human studies, strip away the hype, and explain the actual mechanisms in plain language so you can decide for yourself what matters. The next video is already in the works, and it's going somewhere even more surprising than the cell defense switch we talked about today. If you want to catch that one, and the ones after it, the simplest way is to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell. It takes 2 seconds. It costs nothing, and it tells the algorithm that careful, evidence-based content is worth showing to more people. I'd rather build this slowly with viewers who actually care about understanding how their body works than chase empty numbers. So if this landed for you, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.